This is flipped video 1.3, demand and supply. So demand and supply make up our competitive market. So our competitive market occurs in microeconomics. So the course is macro, so we're talking about big picture, but we do cover a tiny bit of microeconomics. So what exactly is a competitive market? So competitive market is where there are many buyers and many sellers offering the same good or service. So when we're adding supply and demand together on the same micro market, it's going to look like this. Looks like an X on a basic, right angle shape here. And we have price on the vertical and quantity on the horizontal. Our supply curve slopes upward and our demand curve slopes downward. And that creates our competitive market. And our point right here at the intersection is called equilibrium. And at equilibrium, everyone wins. So we always want to be at equilibrium. Sometimes we drift away from it, but we do always shift back to equilibrium. So what are some examples of a competitive market? Well, the market for shoes. All shoes are basically the same. The only thing that's different is slight style and color changes, but that's a competitive market for shoes. Jeans is a competitive market. We can talk about the fast food competitive market. We can also look at the competitive market for electronics. We can look at the competitive market for headphones. So pretty much everything that you buy is part of a competitive market. There are many buyers, so there's many people that want to purchase that product, and there are many sellers that are offering that exact same product as well. So we're going to start with demand first. So demand is just the willingness to buy something. So if you have ever bought something, you have demanded it. You need it for some reason, and that reason is because it serves a utility for you. It serves utility for you, it serves a value for you, and that's why you're buying it. Economics assumes that we are rational people. So because we are rational people, we are only going to buy things that we absolutely need. And those things that we absolutely have to have, they provide us a utility, they provide us a value. So quantity demanded is the amount or the number of a good or a service that a consumer is willing to buy at any given price. So if we look at our demand graph here on the right, at point A, we have price point A and quantity A. So let's say this is $5 and we're willing to buy 3. So at point A, at a $5 price point for this product, we're willing to buy 3 of that product at price point 5. So the quantity demanded at price point 5 is 3. So let's look at price point B. We'll call that 3. So at price point 3, we go off to point B here, and we have QB, or quantity B. How much are we willing to buy at price point 3? Or let's say we're willing to buy 6. Now, how did I know that QA was going to be less than QB? Well, our quantity axis here, the horizontal axis, this is a number line. So it starts at 0 and works it all the way to a positive infinity number. So it's only positive. We don't buy negative things. You can't buy anything. You can't buy negative things. So our horizontal is always a number line. So we start at 0 and go to an infinite positive number. So QA would be 3 and QB is 6. So that makes sense. So quantity is the actual number. Demand is represented by this downward sloping curve. So this red line that I'm now coloring in blue is downward sloping, and it explains our law of demand, or the inverse relationship that price and quantity have. So as price starts to increase, the quantity that we demand will decrease. So if we look at our price increasing, let's say we're going to go from B to A. We're going from price point B to price point A. So we're going from $3 to $5. We've increased the price. So if we go from B to A, what's going to happen to our quantity? Well, our quantities also is going to decrease, not also decrease, it will decrease. We're going from 6 to 3. So as the price increases as we go from 3 to 5, our quantity is going to go from 6 to 3. So we have an inverse relationship. When we increase the price, we're going to decrease the quantity demanded. The opposite's also true. We decrease price, we're going to increase the quantity demanded. If we have a price change on our demand curve, that means the actual price of what we're talking about has changed, and this is going to result as a movement along the curve. So a great example of slight price changes that we see is through Starbucks. So Starbucks is well known for increasing their prices by like 3 or 5 cents every year. But most of us don't notice that slight price increase because it's happening when they're changing up the menu. So if you do go to Starbucks frequently, you'll see like the fall menu, and then the winter menu, and then the spring menu, and then the summer menu. And we don't notice those slight price increases. 3 cents isn't going to catch our attention. 5 cents probably won't catch our attention either. We don't really start to notice real price changes until about 10 cents. So let's say Starbucks decides to change the price of a tall coffee from $2 to $2.25. Well, here we are at quantity point 1. We're willing to buy X many tall coffees from Starbucks at $2, but now the price has increased. So are you going to continue to buy as many Starbucks coffees with a 25-cent increase? If you're rational, like economists believe people are, the answer is no. You're going to decrease your quantity because you're a rational person. Irrational people, like myself, don't really care about the price of the coffee. We just care about the caffeine. Now, when we do start to change our demand curve, so this is full shifting of our demand curve, it's due to things happening in the background of that market. So it's not because of a price change, it's due to factors not related to the price of the product, and they are called the non-price determinants of demand. And these are things that are going to entirely shift the demand of a product or service in the market. So when we start shifting curves here, every time we go to the left, we're decreasing, and every time we go to the right, we're increasing. Why is that? Well, again, quantity, what is now this purple line, our horizontal, this is our number line. So we start at 0 and we move to an infinite positive number. So as we start moving to the right, we're increasing. And if we move to the left, we decrease. So what are these non-price determinants of demand? What are these things that are going to entirely shift the demand curve in our market? Well, first could be a change in the price of a related good. So this could be because of a substitute good or a complementary good. So a substitute good is something that we can switch out for one or another. So that would be like Apple products and then Android products. It could be like name brand AirPods or just regular Bluetooth headphones. We could also look at butter and margarine. Those are substitutes. Or we could talk about like Skippy peanut butter and Jif peanut butter and Peter Pan peanut butter. Think about all the different types of like vitamin manufacturers. Those are all substitutes for each other. Complementary goods are things that go together. So like peanut butter and jelly, bagels and cream cheese, tennis shoes and socks. Other things that go together are like air fresheners and the plugs that go in the air freshener. So those are complementary goods. Change in income is the change in consumer income. So if your income increases, your demand for all goods and services will also increase. Changes in taste. This is like what's super cool right now. So avocados are like really in right now. Everybody wants avocados. A few years ago, it was mason jars. You couldn't go anywhere without a mason jar being shoved in your face. So changes in taste is like what's really awesome right now. Changes in expectations is just what we expect to happen. So current real life example, the pandemic. People were fearful of a shortage of toilet paper. So the expectation that toilet paper was going to disappear forever caused a massive increase in demand for toilet paper. We were expecting it to disappear. For whatever reason, we thought it was disappearing. And then, of course, changes in the number of consumers. So if we just have more people in general in an area, we're going to have an increase in demand for all products in that area. So Frisco is constantly growing. There's always more people in Frisco. So the demand for all products in Frisco is increasing. But let's say we find out Frisco's haunted and we all just leave. Well, then the demand for all products in Frisco is going to decrease. So let's do some practice examples here. So we're talking about men's hats. So one thing with our graphs here, we need to make sure that we do have titles when we can have titles. We have price on the vertical, quantity on the horizontal. Our supply curve slopes upward, demand curve slopes downward. We have our quantity equilibrium point and our price equilibrium point. So this is what a basic market graph, micro market graph at equilibrium looks like. So men's hats are becoming less popular. Well, if the men aren't wearing the hats, what's happening to the demand for men's hats? It's decreasing. So decreasing goes to the left. So here we have demand 2. We have our decrease in quantity. And we're going to decrease the price. If no one's buying hats, the price will eventually drop. So let's look at a second practice example. Milk prices have skyrocketed. What will happen to the demand for cookies? So we are actually graphing for cookies here. We're not graphing for milk. So we're going to have price on the vertical, quantity on the horizontal, supply curve slopes upward, demand curve slopes downward. We have quantity equilibrium and price equilibrium. So if milk prices have skyrocketed, are we going to buy cookies? No. If milk prices are on the rise, we're not going to buy any cookies because cookies and milk go together. So we're going to have another decrease in demand example, and it's going to go to the left. And that's what a decrease in demand looks like. So the second part of our micro market is supply. So supply is on the production end. So supply is all about the production of a product. Demand is about purchasing, supply is about production. So supply is the willingness to produce a good or a service. Quantity supplied is the amount of a good or service that people are willing to sell at a specific price. So let's say we have a price point of $5. How much will our suppliers supply at $5? Well, they're going to supply 10. But let's say the price is $7. How much do we think our suppliers are going to supply at $7? Well, they're going to supply more. So let's say they're going to supply 15. But let's say our price drops to $3. What are suppliers going to do when the price drops? Are they going to supply more or supply less? Well, they're going to supply less. And this creates our upward sloping supply curve. And it's upward because it has a positive relationship between price and quantity. So as our price increases, we're going to see an increase in the quantity supplied. So if we start at point A here, and we increase the price to $7, so we're going to point B. So we go from $5 to $7. We're going from A to B. So we're going from 10 to 15. And it makes sense that we have this positive relationship because production is all about profit. If the price of your product that you produce is increasing, meaning you're making a greater profit, aren't you going to increase the amount that you're selling at a higher price point? Yes, because you want to make a profit. If the price of your product is decreasing, meaning you're making less of a profit on that product, are you going to make more of that? No, because you're not making a profit. So our positive relationship is for supply. We increase the price, which will increase the quantity supplied. And then the opposite is also true. If we decrease price, we're going to decrease the quantity supplied. So price change happens on supply as well. So again, if we have a price change, we're just talking about a movement along the curve. We're not talking about shifting anything. So Starbucks increased their prices from $2 to $2.25. So they are going to increase the quantity of tall coffees that they supply at that higher price point. So what does that actually mean for Starbucks? That means Starbucks is going to buy more tall coffee cups than they are going to buy the grande or the venti cups because they're offering tall coffees for $2.25. So they're going to supply more of those tall coffee cups at that higher price point. At a higher price point, suppliers will supply more. The more expensive a product is selling for, the more that producer is going to push out at that higher price point because they're going to make a greater profit. Shifting the supply curve follows the non-price determinants just like demand. They're just a little different. They're all focusing on impacts to production. When we move to the left, we're still decreasing. When we move to the right, we are still increasing. So our changes in input prices would impact supply. So input prices would be things that go into the production of a product. So let's say we make t-shirts. If cotton prices are increasing, we can't make as many t-shirts because our costs of production are too expensive. Changes in the prices of related goods or services. So if we have a change in the price of a competitor product, then we're going to increase or decrease supply to capitalize on those price changes. Let's say the newest iPhone doesn't work. What do you think Android is going to do to their production? They're going to increase it. If their competitor is having problems, they're going to increase their production to capitalize on their competitors' issues. Changes in technology would impact supply. If we have better technology available to us, we can increase our supply. Right now, the internet has crashed at FISD, so changes in technology have decreased the supply of on-demand education. That would work. Changes in expectations, so as suppliers, we also look at expectations for production. If we had better warning about the pandemic, maybe we would have had an increase in supply of disinfecting wipes. We also look at, the purchase of excess stock of things and changes in expectations. And then also changes in the number of producers will impact supply. Ladies, if you like to go get your nails done, if we lost half of the nail salons in Frisco, then that would decrease the supply of nail services because the number of people offering that have left. So again, all of these things were not related to the price of the product. They're just things happening in the background. So we'll look at some examples here. Red dye number 3, a popular color used to dye cotton, has increased in price. What will happen to the supply of red t-shirts? So we're drawing our micro market for red t-shirts. We have price on the vertical, quantity on the horizontal. Supply will slope upward, demand slopes downward. Quantity equilibrium and price equilibrium. So if red dye number 3 has increased in price, what's going to happen to the supply of our red t-shirts? Well, it will decrease. It's too expensive to buy red dye, so we can't make as many red t-shirts. And another example, a new piece of machinery makes the productions of iPhone double. So we're talking about iPhones here. So we have price on the vertical, quantity on the horizontal. Supply slopes upward, demand slopes downward. We have our equilibrium points. So a new piece of machinery makes the production of iPhones double. So what's going to happen to the supply of iPhones? Well, it will increase. So it's going to shift to the right. So we have quantity 2, and price 2. Okay. So that's our supply and demand. Flipped video, and we will do more practice with this in class next time.